severe thunderstorm watch up right now from D.C. up through Philadelphia and New York City. In fact, millions bracing tonight for dangerous winds and rain during this commute home. Swamped by flash flooding, this is Eureka, Missouri you're looking at. And downing trees and power lines in Brighton, Michigan tonight. More than 300,000 people are without power this evening from Wisconsin all the way to New York City. Thousands in Brooklyn remain in the dark tonight. All of this as we're also tracking a new tropical threat tonight that will affect the East Coast.
Whoopers Cat. Yeah, the weather's been pretty bad, and following the normal pattern, media is focusing on their own countries. So I found a few bits and pieces from around the world this week that also shows that the weather's deteriorating everywhere. We've cut our power use here a lot. We've got the air conditioning off most of the time. It's pretty hot. But the power bills have just gone through the roof, and gas is still really high, and everything's pretty bad. There's been a whole bunch of things at work which I'm not going to go into. You know, there's been layoffs everywhere. It continues to be a heck of a struggle, but at the same time, the climate's not doing anything to reassure us, is it?
Oh, moly. Tonight, powerful storms pounding the Northeast.
Debris, power lines, they fell into the roadway. That's why state police shut down 270.
The severe weather finally snapping a deadly heat wave. New York City's grid pushed to the limit. Overhead wires catching fire, manholes smoking. The power company cutting electricity.
Just unreal. Unreal.
Con Ed handing out dry ice and water to residents today. In Michigan, utility crews racing to restore power there too. At one point, more than 800,000 homes and businesses were without power after severe storms moved through.
Weather conditions have caused serious damage in a number of areas across the Western Cape.
Well, heavy rainfall has had a positive impact on dam levels around Cape Town, having now risen to some 65%. There have been some residents of the city who've literally been left out in the cold. Here in Dunoon is a settlement close to Milnerton, and some of the residents here have reported to having lost their roofs in overnight gale force windy conditions.
Well, like I said, it was definitely the weather this week that was impactful. Yeah, and there's been fires and there's been floods. We haven't had a war yet, and we haven't had a pandemic yet, but it seems to me that the four horsemen are kind of starting to walk towards us all, and we're all standing there and nobody quite knows what to do.
Jensen tries to carry on, feeding her mom and dad's cow.
I know, sweetie.
Trying to keep her mind off the things she cannot control.
It was part of my whole life. It's why I want to work with cows.
The farm she grew up on now littered with debris after Friday's storm.
This is probably the worst of our damage.
This barn destroyed. Luckily, several cows inside at the time of the storm survived.
You just want to punch up this camera real quickly. You can see this traffic that's backed up. Let me see if I can go backwards a little bit with it. On the westbound side of 440, who had a really bad accident, a weather-related accident. You can see the jam up as a result of it. There's the accident back there, just over the, it's a little bit hard to see with all the rain that's on the lens of the camera.
Now to the race to contain those dangerous fires out west. More than 40 large wildfires are burning from Texas to Oregon, including a massive blaze near a nuclear site in Idaho. Ginger is tracking it all for us. She's there in Pittsburgh for us this morning. Good morning, Ginger.
Good morning to you, Robin. That nuclear site was actually a nuclear lab where they had to get non-essential employees out because they were worried about the sheep fire. 13,000 acres burned already, and Idaho Falls, it's very close to there. So we're watching that one. We're also watching so many other fires. This brush fire just north of San Jose that built up.
The current heat wave is a devastating cycle of cause and effect. Forest fires in Alaska and within the Arctic Circle haven't just been caused in part by global warming, they're also contributing to it. Vast swathes of woodland are burning in northern extremes in Russia, the US and Canada. An unprecedented wave of destruction in highly ecologically sensitive regions of the planet. The fires have emitted more carbon dioxide than recorded in any other previous year. Rough numbers estimate the smoke covers an area of about 2 million square kilometres. And elsewhere, another striking impact of the searing heat. Flood water from a melting glacier in the Alps surging through a town in Switzerland. It's a dramatic illustration of an effect of warming witnessed across the Alps. Year on year, glaciers are receding at an increasing rate. Experts say little can be done to prevent the melting. The full consequences yet unknown.
Well, 100 intense fires, in fact, estimated more than 100 intense fires have ignited in the Arctic Circle.
Downpour has caused chaos on Melbourne roads. Flash flooding left drivers stranded after the city's west was inundated. Firefighters rescued 2 people whose cars became trapped in rising waters. The showers have since subsided and the roads are now clear. Forecasts predict Melbourne will experience a cloudy day today with a small chance of more rain.
There's millions of people experiencing severe trauma from all of these floods. Insurance, if they have it, isn't going to pay very much. People don't have any money right now to try and repair that damage. Certainly the governments aren't coming up with much cash to help. And yet the mainstream media stays resolutely cheerful. This is a typical one from the States. I mean, the woman's trying to free the drain to stop water overflowing the road, probably into a house. But yeah, let's have a laugh.
It is such a wet morning here in the Northeast.
It really is.
And it was quite a night here in New York as well. Take a look at the scene that happened overnight. That woman braving floodwaters in Brooklyn. That's in Brooklyn, trying to cross the street. Really rough.
Many have said they never have seen anything like that. And this woman, we're going to call her a highway hero. Using a traffic cone, helped clear out a drain so cars could keep moving again. And those storms knocking out power for more than 500,000 people. Lindsay Davis is in Howell Township, New Jersey, with the very latest. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning to you, Robin. A very wet morning. A lot of concern for the residents here in Howell Township, and you can see why multiple scenes like this are playing out throughout the area. Look, this tree has just smashed, not just through the roof, but through the side of the house, through the windows. A lot of the interior of the house is exposed here. Trees have fallen on power lines, on roadways, blocking roadways, and police are urging people to stay off the roads.
Of course, the increasing temperature of the planet and the increasing melting of ice going in the atmosphere is causing huge floods, and it's not getting any better. The Department of Defense is now looking at this much more seriously in terms of a threat to the United States, and also Canadian Army is also looking at this, how we deal with climate change in terms of refugees and food shortages and water shortages and actually basic combat. You know, above a certain temperature, even fighting has become quite difficult and very, very dangerous. And on top of that, the other thing that's not really been spoken about is a lot of the firefighters in Canada and America have been working so hard for so long now and have seen other people die of heart attacks and burns even, and it's bad. And they're now killing themselves in increasing numbers. And as of yet, nobody's really doing anything about that. We should be.
Across the DoD, we lose about 1 soldier per year to severe exertional heat stroke or other related injuries.
As an emergency physician, I've seen firsthand the devastation that these illnesses can lead to. You know, it's always heartbreaking to have to tell a family that their young, promising soldier is no longer with us because they died from something that was potentially preventable in training.
In a lab study, we have safety limits imposed upon us. But in a military setting, we are not governing what the individuals are doing. They're doing their normal job and we're monitoring that. And oftentimes we find much more extreme physiology than we can find in the lab.
The sensors include what is called a 3-axis accelerometer.
To a really serious state, with a high likelihood this individual is going to become a heat casualty.
In addition to research and treatment, the Fort Benning Heat Center has hosted forums to spread what they've learned throughout the Department of Defense.
Tonight, as wildfire season ramps up across the country, suicide deaths among wildland firefighters continue to climb. 6 on Your Side's McKenna King joins us live in studio with what the National Interagency Fire Center says they're doing about it and whether firefighters think it's enough.
Suicide deaths among wildland firefighters are on the rise, but exact numbers aren't available. NIST says they only track deaths that occur while on duty.
Well, that's it for me. I'm just going to finish up with a statement from the Chinese. They're getting very annoyed about Hong Kong. I think everybody's guessing that at some point the PLA is going to go back in. They tried to put them in a few weeks ago and they pulled them out because of the optics, but I think China's getting really mad. The other thing that's really concerning me is China and Taiwan. I can see China reaching out to retake Chinese Taiwan, which is of course an independent country and supported by NATO and the West. I could see them doing that if they think it's in their interest and it will distract China from what's going on in Hong Kong. That would probably lead to at least a localized war down there. Hopefully that won't happen. I'm really too busy to be dealing with all of this. We're trying to decide now whether to cancel our cell phones, but we're on a package, so it's kind of difficult. We're trying to cut costs wherever we can and struggle through. Anyway, wherever you are, stay safe, keep cheerful, and ride out this depression. It's not recovering yet. Hopefully it will soon. Bye.
But China is holding 2 military exercises in the East China and South China Seas near Taiwan. These drills come just days after Beijing issued a white paper reiterating that it will not hesitate to use force to reclaim the island, which it sees as a renegade province.
Back in May, a Chinese official had said recent drills were a warning to Taiwan not to move towards declaring independence. For this round of drills, China's Maritime Safety Agency warned against entering broad swathes of airspace and waters.
It placed an area off the coast of Zhejiang province, northeast of Taiwan, off limits till Thursday evening. Off limits till Friday is an area off the coast of Guangdong and Fujian provinces, west of Taiwan.
No details were released about the scale of the exercises. Taiwan says it is closely monitoring the situation in the straits to ensure safety and regional stability.
It's the Defense Ministry issued issued a statement saying that it's confident and capable of defending the island's security. The latest drills also come days after the U.S. conducted a routine transit through the narrow waterway separating the Chinese mainland and Taiwan.
For a second straight Sunday, chaos erupted on the streets of Hong Kong's central business district. But rather than retreating, Many regrouped and pushed back. It's the latest confrontation in a political crisis that has gripped Hong Kong for nearly 2 months. Clashes between protesters and police have become increasingly bloody.
Are starting to mount over where the threshold may be for calling in the Chinese military to support the police. The Hong Kong Affairs Office was asked this during the press conference. They responded only by pointing to the city's constitution, as they have in the past. It allows city officials to request military help, although neither the city nor Beijing have given any specifics. The government also repeated its support for City Administrator Carrie Lam and the Hong Kong police. The officials claim Western countries are stoking the unrest.